Welcome to today's new family orientation session. Before we begin, we have a few important housekeeping notes to cover.
La traducción al español para esta sesión es proporcionada por Wordly, una herramienta de traducción en tiempo real. Para acceder a este contenido en español, haga clic en el icono del globo en la barra de herramientas del lado derecho de la pantalla y seleccione Español en la lista de opciones de traducción.
Today's session is being recorded. Recordings will be available approximately 3 hours after the session ends. You can find session recordings in your session schedule or in the on-demand page of the Hub. To ask questions during this session, click on the Q&A button in the panel to the right of your screen. We'll answer as many questions as we can, either during the session or at the end. You can submit questions anonymously. Please don't share any personal information in questions, as questions will be visible to all guests. If you see a question in the Q&A panel that you want to see answered, upvote it to let our team know. Lastly, we ask that you please join us in upholding and promoting UC San Diego's principles of community, and in keeping our community free from any and all forms of discrimination and harassment. Now let's get started with today's new family orientation session.
Hi folks, thanks for joining us today. So we are some of your Deans of Student Affairs, and we're here to talk about the support that we provide to students through the undergraduate colleges. So we'll do introductions first, just so you know who all is here. So my name is Jason Thibodeau, and I serve as the Dean of Student Affairs for Muir College.
And I serve as the Dean of Student Affairs for Sixth College. Welcome.
And my name is Sherry Mallory, and I serve as the Dean of Student Affairs for Revelle College.
All right, awesome. Get the next slide. So just to give you a rundown of what we're going to talk about today. So first, we're going to talk about what this setup at UC San Diego is. I know the college system is different from most other universities. We want to try to explain that to give you some insight into this unique structure and how that plays into the role that we provide for students. Types of issues we deal with, common scenarios, to try to help give you a good sense of what we do to support students, how we can partner with you all, and then talking a little bit about privacy, FERPA, which you may have heard about, and then how that all works together. And then also we'll share information how to reach us. And then finally, we'll have time at the end for Q&A. All right, next slide. So first thing I want to talk about is the undergraduate college system. So this is definitely, like I mentioned, a different setup from most universities. So UC San Diego has 8 colleges, which basically is this opportunity to provide a smaller college environment at a large university. So a student can be any major at any college. What the college system does is it really breaks things down where they've got more of this almost like a private liberal arts college experience at this larger university. They get the benefits of both, right? They get the benefits of a small college experience and all the resources and access that you might find at a large public research university. Next slide. So within the undergraduate college system, there's a couple different components, right? So each college has its own general education requirements, and those are very specific to the theme of the college. That also guides the different writing sequences that we all have. We also all have our own residential and apartments where most of our incoming first-year students live. Not always, but the big majority of them. We try to house them at the undergraduate college. Same thing with the student life program. So that's everything starting with new student orientation, all the way through like student leadership experiences, through their different clubs and organizations, all the way through commencement, all happen with the college, really creating this home away from home for them. Because really what we try to do is create this welcoming, inclusive, and supportive environment within that smaller college feel. And also you'll see the college theme and our mission reflected throughout the different activities that happen in college. Next slide. And so some of the advantage of that, right, is it helps this university feel a lot smaller, right? So that's one of our big goals. I know students coming into a large school like UCSD can feel like it's a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of people. A lot of folks are often worried about like, am I gonna meet meet people, make new friends, find a major I enjoy, right? Get involved, all those kind of things. And that's a huge part of the role of the college system, is to help them make those connections, find that belonging, and create a sense of community. Within the college, right, you'll see in a second, we'll lay out the structure, but they've got access to a lot of staff that students will get to know on a one-on-one basis that are there to help support them throughout that journey. And part of this smaller environment is they really get the opportunity to actually develop one-on-one relationships with all of us throughout the college, as opposed to at a bigger school, right? You might meet with a random advisor or meet with a random staff member and never see them again. At UC San Diego, right, we build a lot of intentional relationships, so students know us all by name, or they see us around and know that they can always come talk to a friendly face whenever they've got issues, concerns, or need support. Next slide. So if this helps give you a rundown of how we're structured. So every college looks exactly like this. So we're all overseen by a provost, which is basically a faculty member who oversees the entire college. And then there's three major components of the college. So all of us have a writing program. And then we also each have a dean of academic advising. So that's the team that's helping students understand their course schedule, talking about majors, understanding university policy around academics, and helping to get them to the finish line with their degree requirements. And the third part is us, so the deans of student affairs. So that's really where we come into play with the residential life experience, with all the other things we're talking about, all the things that happen outside of the classroom to support student life and support student well-being. And then we also work really closely with partners that are in Central Campus with our counseling and psychological services, as well as student affairs case management. So we all work together in support of student well-being. Next slide. All right, and I'm gonna pass things along to Sherry now. Oh, sorry, I think I may have skipped a slide.
That's okay. So just a quick reminder that as you have questions, please type them in using the Q&A feature. We will have time at the end to answer your questions live. So once we get through all of our slides, we will come back and talk through any questions that you may have. Next slide. So the Dean of Student Affairs, we're responsible with the Student Affairs and Residence Life staff for your students' out of class and co-curricular experience at our undergraduate college. We have anywhere from 10 to 13 staff that report up through us. So we have a director of residence life and assistant directors of residence life who provide a comprehensive residence life program. So for housing, for contracts, for all of those sorts of things, that's all handled centrally. But then students will typically live within their college their first 2 years, and in terms of supporting students, helping them, providing activities for them, that falls to our residence life staffs. We also have staff who focus on advising student organizations, coordinating programs like orientation, like Weeks of Welcome. And then as Deans of Student Affairs, we provide high-level oversight for that, really set the vision. We also are involved in student conduct, so academic integrity, conduct cases. We hope that that doesn't happen when students are in college, but we know that sometimes students make mistakes. Our processes are meant to be educational, and so typically they will either meet with our staff or with us to talk things through. And then a big part of what we do is providing support to students experiencing a wide variety of concerns. So really together our teams are here to help keep your students safe, to help get them connected both within our college and beyond the college, and to oversee community standards. And then we're here to provide support for them and also for you as family members if things go wrong, if they need a little help along the way. Next slide. So what are the sorts of things that we help students with? If students are injured, if they are in an accident or are sick, if they experience the illness or the loss of a close friend or family member, if they have a traumatic experience that has either happened before they come to UC San Diego that impacts them during their time here, or if they experience something challenging while they're here. If they're dealing with a difficult living situation on staff, we have our residence life staff to assist, but if students are living off campus and need assistance navigating challenges with roommate, or if there are other conflicts that they're trying to navigate, we can help get them connected to support and resources. Mental health concerns. Some of our students we know are coming to us with prior diagnoses, but the age group of our students is often the development of a variety of mental health concerns, and it can be fairly innocuous stuff like struggling through breakups or homesickness. It could be something more significant, but there's a lot of support that we work to try to provide. The students can struggle with basic needs, finding stable housing, food security, financial stability. So if situations change, we know that there's a lot going on in our country and in our world right now, and things that happen at home or elsewhere can impact students here. And then we have a lot of resources on our campus. We have just about anything and everything that students could need to help them succeed here, but it can be very, very overwhelming. So having the college, us, our staff, we're really a home base for students to come to if they're not sure where to go. I always talk to students at orientation and say, hey, if you don't know where else to start, come to us. This is what we're here for. Next slide. So what does support look like? When students come on our radar, and they may come on our radar in a variety of ways, sometimes you as family members are reaching out, sometimes we hear roommates raising concerns, or faculty members or staff across campus will reach out and say, hey, here's a student that needs a little bit of extra support. Because each of our colleges do have writing programs that students participate in, those faculty work with and get to know our students pretty well, and they'll often let us know if a student needs some support. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll reach out to the student to talk about what they may need or what's going on for them, and we'll work with them to develop an action plan to assist. We'll make sure that we get them connected to campus resources. And as deans, we really pride ourselves, us and our team, of trying to connect students to people in offices, not just saying, oh, go talk to financial aid, they'll be able to help you, but hey, let's get you connected with financial aid. Here is a time that you can go, and here's who you can talk to, or let me send an email connecting you. So we try to do what we call warm handoffs as much as we can. If something's going on for a student and they need some flexibility around academics, and they're not able to reach out to their professors themselves, we can help with that. We can reach out to professors. So I just had a student, we'll talk about scenarios in a minute, but I just had a student who was in an accident, pretty significant accident, was in the hospital right before finals. And so mom reached out, and we worked to get in touch with faculty and then work with the student and with mom to try to get everything sorted out. Because advising is embedded in the colleges, we work very closely with advising to make sure that students understand all of the academic options and support that are available to them. And then we know that some students need a little bit more ongoing or significant support. So we have a position that's part of our team, our student care and accountability specialist, or the colleges that don't have those have an additional assistant dean. So we can connect students within the college, or we can refer students out to student affairs case management, and they provide non-clinical support to students navigating campus and off-campus resources. Next slide. So just to give you a sense of the partners that we work closely with in the colleges, our basic needs hub counseling and psychological services, our financial aid and scholarships office, housing, dining, hospitality, which falls under the umbrella of RRSS, our international services and engagement office, our office for students with disabilities, student affairs case management, which I just mentioned, student financial solutions, and student health services. Not an exhaustive list. If we talked about everyone that we partner with to support students, I think we would be here for the better part of the night. But as deans, we really work hard to build those relationships across campus and to do what we can to help students get connected to the support and resources that they need. So I'm going to hand it off to Diane, and she's going to give you a couple examples just so you can see what this looks like in action.
Thank you, Sherry. So Sherry talked a little bit about the departments that we collaborate with, and I want to share a couple of examples with you of student situations and how we work through those. What you see on your screen is an example of a skateboarding or scooter or bicycle injury. We typically have a lot of these in the fall quarter, pedestrians versus wheels. So if your students are coming with scooters, bicycles, skateboards, whatever that looks like, please make sure they are being safe. So one of the things that we'll do if we know that a student has been in an accident, we'll get notified. We'll reach out to the student to see what support they need. If they're in the hospital or they've been transported to the hospital, we will reach out to their instructors to let them know. Many instructors have attendance policies, or if there's midterms or any exams, we want to make sure that the instructor is aware of the student's situation. We'll also reach out to the student and let them know about resources such as Office for Students with Disabilities in case there are temporary or permanent physical or academic accommodations needed for the student. We'll connect them with social workers at Student Health Services, connect them with the Basic Needs Hub as well, and also ask our advising team to reach out to them to discuss academic options as needed. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm sorry, there's a little bit of a delay on my end. Another situation, this is common. I always say that life happens to students. Life continues to happen while students are in college. Life doesn't stop. So there could be things where students are dealing with an illness or death of a family member or close friend. So ways that we work with students in these types of situations, it's always good to have your student reach out to us, or you can reach out to us as a family member to let us know what's going on. We'll reach out to the student to see what support they need. We will also message faculty in these situations as well. Sometimes we hear from students as they're on their way to the airport, so we want to make sure their instructors are aware. We'll connect them with counseling and psychological services for support. Again, connect them with academic advising to talk about any academic options depending on their circumstances. And then again, connect them with our international services and engagement office in case they are an international student. Next slide, please. So I'd like to talk a little bit about FERPA. So FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and this law protects students' records. Student records can include anything about their educational records, their disciplinary records, their classes that they're enrolled in, their grades, even where they live on campus. So due to FERPA, we are unable to share information directly with people outside of the student unless we have a release of information signed. So that's just something to be aware of. That can be frustrating sometimes for parents who want information, but we encourage you to reach out to your student to ask about their grades, ask how they're doing in their classes, ask those questions that you have. Next slide. However, we'll say, even with FERPA, we still would like to hear from you if there is something going on. So if your student is in crisis or has trouble navigating a situation, we want to hear from you and have that conversation with you. We get calls from family members a lot asking what services, what resources are available to students, or how, as a family member, can they best support their student. So we will listen to you and provide what information we can. We can provide general information about campus policies and procedures and processes, which sometimes is helpful because students may not always accurately portray information. So if you have those questions, you can reach out to us. And then again, as we mentioned, if there's a significant health crisis or family crisis, please let us know what's going on so we can reach out to the student and work with them on that. Next slide, please. So we know that working with family members is also a key to student success on this campus. So we really want to ask you to empower your students to reach out when they need help, ask them to have tough conversations. We get calls from parents who are concerned about roommate conflicts, everything to do with your student's experience at UCSD. So we encourage you to have those conversations of who has your student reached out to, have they navigated resources on the campus before you jump in and provide solutions. Many of you may have attended the counseling and psychological office program earlier. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to visit it because they do have some good tips for family members in terms of engaging their student and getting ready for them to leave college, preparing to let go, but encouraging them to also be successful. We are a resource for you, so we do want you to reach out. Again, you may hear us mention FERPA again at multiple presentations, but please know that we want to make sure that your student is successful and we recognize family members as a great partner. Next slide, please. So here's information on all of the college deans of student affairs and how you can reach us directly. All of our emails are listed there, as well as a link to overall resources about the colleges. We will be uploading a PDF of this presentation, so you will be able to click on the links to access the information provided. Next slide, please. So coming soon, you can click on these links as well for additional information from parent and family orientation programs, specifically by college. Some colleges have information listed, some are TBD, but please make sure you check that out when you have the opportunity. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to ask Sherry to come back and kick off our Q&A session.
All right. So our first question is there a specific department or person to support our out-of-state students whose families are a flight away, so quite a distance and time zone change away if they're struggling?
Student and Engagement Office is the office on campus that really works to support our international students with visas, with questions about their status. Other ways that they are helpful is when we find that there are natural disasters or geopolitical events abroad that impact our students on campus. And that office also works really closely with our students to make sure they are connected to resources. So that is a great starting point if your student is not connected with that office, to check out their website and make sure that your student is well aware of the resources they offer.
I'd also add some of our college councils also do work to support students who are from outside California. So one, it's a good leadership opportunity. If your student is in that situation, they can get involved, but also that they provide what programs and support to help create community for students who might be coming from outside the state.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I would say is our residence life staff on campus for students who are living on campus are really great about helping to support for out-of-state students. We understand that there is often a lot of anxiety, because if your student is struggling, you may be the one to get that phone call. I always talk to Revell parents about what I call the dump call, right? Where you just get that call and you hear all of the things that are going wrong and probably none of the things that are going right. And a lot of times when students have made that call, they feel that much, so much better. They're down the hall watching a movie, and your sleepless night begins, and you can't reach out to anyone for several hours. We have a lot of tools at our disposal to check in on students without ringing a lot of alarm bells. So if you're just a little concerned, you haven't heard from your student for weeks, and that's out of, or not weeks, days, and that's out of character. If you normally are in touch daily, right, you can let us know, and we have ways of trying to get in touch with them, like, hey, maybe you want to call home. When we have something, you're like, hey, I just talked to my student, and they just sound a little off. I'm just a little worried about them. We can, if it's a high level concern, we can reach out. But if it's a low level, we can have their resident assistant swing by and check in with everybody in the suite. Student never has a clue that we're concerned about them. Because all they know is like, oh, the RA came by and talked to all of us, but really there's a specific person that we're trying to learn a little bit more about. So we have a lot of different tools at our disposal. And then, when you're out of town, we've worked closely with families if there's a reason that you need to get here. If your student's going through something significant, we can sort of be that bridge for you to help keep you updated. Diane talked about FERPA. So for the run-of-the-mill stuff, if you just want to know their grades, of course we can't talk to you unless there is a written release from your student giving us permission to talk to you. But when there's a significant health or safety emergency, we do have the ability to communicate and have worked with students, families out of state, but also out of the country. I have used WhatsApp to communicate with a dad in Kazakhstan, and I've used Google Translate to work with the mom of a student from China, and she knew no English and I knew no Mandarin, but we were able for 2 years to really communicate with one another in support of our students. So yeah. I know there's trust in sending students to us, but we will work closely with you to make sure that your students are okay and have the support that they need until you can get here or they can get home when something big is going on. All right. I do see there is a question about registering for classes and when course registration opens. So that actually falls in the realm of our colleagues, our college deans of academic advising. I know that I had grabbed a link and shared that out in the chat and can reshare that to let you know timelines for academic advising for new students. So let's see. Are there any other questions that y'all have for us while we're here? All right. As Diane shared, we will all be having virtual parent and family orientation sessions for each of the undergraduate colleges. So there should be some communication coming from your student's college, I would say in the next month or so. I think Ravel may be one of the earliest sessions. We'll be doing our parent and family orientation in mid-August, and then they'll run from then up through September. And then once we get the slides from today's sessions PDF'd for you, we will get those added to the portal so you'll be able to access them, and all of the links will be clickable. I do see that there's another question that came in. What's the best way for me to stay in the loop without overstepping?
And I think talking to your student, checking in, is one of the best ways, right? And I've seen it depends on, like, you know your student better than we do. Like I found some folks, they like daily check-ins even, and for some students it's too much, right? So like finding that good balance of what's often enough, but not infrequent, but also not too much, you know? So you're giving them both that sense of autonomy to kind of figure things out, but also still checking in with them. And you know your students, right? Like you know when something's wrong, you can tell when something is off. So I think when your gut feeling says something seems off, that's always a good time to kind of say like what's going on. And like was mentioned earlier, like those are also good moments where you can always reach out to us to kind of talk things through, let us know what's going on, because we can also do follow up for support as well. Honestly, there are times when part of what my help with the student is you need to call your parents because they haven't heard from you. So just know that happens on our end as well.
I'll add a couple of things to that. One of the things I generally encourage parents to do is to go to the UCSD website and download the academic calendar and enrollment and registration calendar. The enrollment and registration calendar will give you all of the deadlines. So when students are registering for classes, when finals are. So that's a good way for you, one, to see deadlines, especially if there are bills you are paying, but two, it's a good way for you to see kind of the flow of the academic year. And so you can tell your student, oh, I think you're registering soon. You know, what classes are you registering for? So that's a good way for you to keep on top of deadlines. The other thing I encourage family members to do is check out the university calendars. You will hear from your students, I don't have anything to do, when there are tons of things to do on campus. There are lots of opportunities for your students to engage and get involved, either on campus, in the colleges, or across the campus. So that's another thing I would say. You know, if you have a student who is maybe expressing that they're feeling a little isolated or having trouble meeting friends, encouraging them to check out some of the engagement websites on campus. So, I mean, those are some things, some tidbits that I think have helped family members in the past as well.
Yeah. I think it also can be helpful to have a conversation about expectations before your student moves in the fall. You know, so if you want to hear from them regularly, you can let them know, hey, you know, like check in with us once a week, or check in with us every couple days, or you know, what I think is most helpful for you. And then I would say also, I think all of our colleges, we all have a social media presence. So you can follow to see what's going on. We do have college newsletters that I think outside folks can sign up for. And then I have to put in a plug for our colleagues at Parent and Family Programs. They're really great. They have regular newsletters and are great about sharing out information and timely updates about what's happening on campus. So, you know, when you're coming up on midterms or when we're coming up on finals, they'll send that sort of information out. All right. So I see that there is a question about where will we be able to access the PDF with the links? You actually will be able to access it in this portal connected to this presentation. So once the recording goes up, there will be a section that where you can look where it says resources. So we'll have our slides, we'll have our contact information. We'll make sure to have all of that available to you there. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay, so we have a lot of questions. We have about registering for classes. So how will transfer students register for classes? Will the webinar for students to register for classes be one-on-one or something like this in a group setting? So we'll refer back, we'll get that link back to the new student advising page. The webinars, I think, will likely be large setting where we'll be sharing information out. I know in my particular college, we then will do breakout rooms where students will spend some time with their orientation leaders so they can ask questions in smaller settings. I'll look to Jason and Diane if they do things a little bit differently. But students do have access to academic advising throughout the summer. So if they have specific questions, they'll be able to connect with academic advising directly. We have something called the Virtual Advising Center. So students ask questions and it gets routed to either college advising or department advising, depending on what their question is. So Jason, Diane, you want to share a little more about how you all do the pre-enrollment webinars?
It's the same for us. Yeah, we'll have a part one orientation that new students, they've already gotten multiple emails about it coming up at the end of this month, I believe, actually.
Same for us. I think it's the same for all the colleges and the part one. And then students will have the opportunity to ask questions of academic advising over the summer. And then academic advising will be present in answering student questions during orientation as well.
And then we also have a question, how and when do we find out who my student's academic advisor is? So do you want to?
I can jump in on that one. Okay. Students aren't assigned an academic advisor, and I don't remember if Jason or Sherry just mentioned a little bit, but we have college academic advising, which is your kind of general overview GE requirements, and then we also have academic and major department advising. More than likely, students will start major advising once they start their upper division courses. Most of their advising in their first couple of years will be with the college academic advising. So they are not assigned an advisor. Students can schedule an appointment to see an advisor. They can also go to drop-in advising, and they can also send questions through what is called the Virtual Advising Center, which we call the VAC. And students have opportunities to send quick questions in the VAC, and the advising team will respond within a day or two. The beauty of the VAC is that the major department as well as the college advising can all see the communication in the VAC so that they're all on the same page. So there are definitely opportunities and ways for your students to engage. All of our advising teams are well versed and well qualified. So that's why there isn't an assigned person, and due to the volume of students. So I would say our advising teams are really responsive and will respond to students' requests within 1 to 2 business days.
Yeah. And if your student does come into drop-in advising and they find an advisor that they really like and are able to connect with, they can either arrange to meet with that advisor during drop-in advising, or they can request to schedule an appointment. So, but really having access to all college advisors helps students be able to get their questions answered as quickly as possible. And then when they have things that will need more time planning, then they can set up appointments for those. All right. We also have a question about student athletes. So are student athletes who report in early September allowed to move in prior to scheduled move-in days?
I can jump in on that one. I think it really depends. Generally, any student athletes coming in, the athletics department will be in communication with housing. Over the summer, we do have summer housing as well as summer conferences. So we don't have always the quick turnover. So sometimes students can't move in as early as they like. Students who are coming in for orientation will also be contacted about early move-in. But I would say that that's going to be something that has information sent out the closer we get to the start of the academic year.
All right. Any other questions that folks have while you have us here? All right, so I think I don't see anything else coming in, so I think we're good. So thank you all for spending time with us. We look forward to welcoming your student and to meeting you in the fall. And just know that in the colleges, we truly are just a phone call and an email away. And if you, as families, need support, you can always reach out to parent and family programs. You can always reach out to us.